Hello and welcome back to Shelf Center. This is Bryce. Thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing. You know, this is something you end up enjoying. It could happen. Anyway, it's that time of year. It's the time that I can finally put together another top 10 list. Because I love them. And let's be honest, everyone else does too. Well, most people. Because they always do pretty dang well in the algorithm or whatever. So, anyway, I have been reading quite a bit. This is, I can't quite do like a quarterly top 10 like some people because I don't read that much, but Goodreads has me about 30 books. And frankly, what I attempt to do for my reading is to, I don't want to read bad books. My goal is to read good books. I really only read books that are recommended to me in some shape or form, whether it's on Reddit or a forum or booktube, obviously, or Twitter. So I'm looking to actually enjoy the books that I read. You spend some time with them. I want them generally to be good. So it tends to be, because of that search for good books and books that I think that I will like, on average, I tend to rate books in the higher category, right? So anyway, I've got a lot here. It was hard to narrow these down, I have to say. I really haven't read a terrible book this year. I've read some books that are not as good as others, though. So anyway, jumping in to number 10, let's jump into it. Number 10, we're going with our one and only graphic novel, but it's The Long Halloween. It's really good. This is everything that everyone said it was, and frankly, starting here, I think says some things, because it's been a good year so far, like I said. But anyway, The Long Halloween is excellent. What I like about it is it's lots of different bad guys. It's like all the way down to like Calendar Man. I mean, we're talking tons of bad guys. It kind of follows this killer that's killing along holidays, and so hence the Long Halloween. So, but you get a lot of different people. You've got Gordon, you've got Harvey Dent. Those are always classic. Catwoman. Really, really good. What I like about it too is that this is one of the inspirations for the Dark Knight trilogy, one of my favorite movie series of all times, frankly. The Christian Bale one, although I have to say the Batman I really loved. It's definitely going to be competing if they can stay at that level. But The Long Halloween, I'm a huge Batman fan. Finally have been reading these. Much better than year one. Year one is just, it's so short. It's just like a snippet. Whereas Long Halloween, you get some meat in there. You get some good stuff. So anyway, highly recommended there. Number 9 was a pretty recent read here, but it is going to be Dark Theory by Wick Welker. I absolutely love this. So first of the self-published books, not the last, that have made my list of top 10 for the year so far. Dark Theory was excellent. It just had so many things going for it. I still feel like I'm in that world and living that world, even though I finished it at least a couple weeks ago. And that's a really good thing, to have me continually living in the world and caring about the characters, even though they're not real. Someone's got to remind me of that sometimes. But it was so good. I'm close to a robot, and just people from kind of these different backgrounds that end up getting together. So many things going for it. Science fiction, some fantasy elements, some dystopian elements. It has so many things going for it. Plus just some well thought out science too. And I think that really lends itself to suspending belief. So anyway, highly recommended. Really, you got to read it. It is worth your time. Number 8, we're going with the second independently published book. That's going to be Wistful Ascending by J.C.M. Byrne. This is one I cannot wait, again, to read more in the series. I just thought it had so many things good going for it. And again, right up my alley. It's science fiction with superheroes, space. It reminded me a lot of one of my favorites from, what is it, not even last year, the year before, I think, because I snuck it in, but the book one of the Sun Eater series. So it reminded me a lot of that. So Empire of Silence reminded me a lot of that, and so I had lots of that going for it, but like as a superhero. So really cool. I talked about it a bunch. You're probably sick of me talking about it, but I really enjoyed it. Highly recommended. Number 7, this is actually a huge surprise to me and a very recent read for me. I'm going to go with The Last Wish by Andrei Sapkowski. And I'll be honest, it's a Witcher book, the first Witcher book. It's a book that I actually read, I want to say back in 2009, 2010. So I read it ages ago, really way before it was really, really popular like it is now, the Witcher series. And I didn't like it. Maybe I'm just a snob. I speak another language, and I kept thinking, I just feel like some things weren't translated well, especially the jokes, and that is one thing that if you speak another language, it's hard. Not all the jokes kind of translate really well. And so I blamed it on that. I blamed it on a number of things. I read it again, and I loved it. It was so good. I think it helped. I didn't know a lot going in the first time. One of the things I didn't know, which I think is important to know, is that this is actually a short story collection. That's important. They kind of have this like overarching narrative to pull it together, kind of, but I'll be honest, I'm going, what was I thinking the first time? I don't really know. But I loved it this time, especially just knowing it's going to be disjointed. That was one of my problems with it, but it's going to be disjointed. They're different stories. But I loved it. I just did a kind of review discussion on J.R. Carroll's channel, so go check that out if you want. But holy cow, quite the just complete switch for me. I mean, it helps that I've had more experience with like playing the game or just with it being around, and so I definitely was kind of pointed toward liking it. But I liked this one because it's not just about killing the monster, which is fun. There's great action, but there's also usually like some kind of trick, some kind of just a subversion of what you're actually thinking each story pretty much. So I really like that, and really just kind of spotting those really worked. And frankly, the humor really worked for me this time too. So I don't know what I was thinking the first time. I had no clue. Do have my really old copy of Blood of Elves. I've kept it because I always said I needed to read a full narrative, a full story that wasn't disjointed. And so I still have it to this day. This actually was my copy of The Last Wish. It looked like that. I thought it looked so cool. Still do. Anyway, this series has gone through so many covers though. Number six, I think this is number 6 in the series. Fugitive Telemetry, Martha Wells. Absolutely, Murderbot, I had a little bit of a downer, I think, on the second or third book, but ever since then, and kind of getting my bearings right on this, I have absolutely loved this series. I love the first book too. And they just look good. They're great little books. They're quick, they're easy, but they're so much fun. The humor in them is fun. And don't go in expecting like something radically different each time. It's pretty much along the same lines each time, and if you like it in one, just know that that's kind of what you're getting in the rest. And once I kind of figured that out, realized that, came to that conclusion, I've really enjoyed them and just appreciated it for what it is, and for the humor that it brings, because it's pretty funny. Having a bot interact with humans, so it's pretty funny. All right, number 5, we're going with yet another independently published book. This one's going to be Reaper by Will White. I still have yet to read Waybound, but it's coming. It's going to happen. We're going to get there. So this is book 9 in the Cradle series. If you've been following the channel, you'll know I'm a huge Cradle fan. But Reaper just had some good revelations, some stuff that it was like, duh, I should have known that. And I'm so frustrated that I didn't, but I also love the surprise and the fun, so I'm okay with it. I maybe kind of go into things like The Prestige. I don't know if you've seen that movie. Love that movie, but this idea of, maybe you want to be tricked. I'm okay being tricked. I want to enjoy my experience. I'm looking forward to that. That's why I read. So Reaper, I thought, nailed it. I also read Dread God. Didn't like it as much. Didn't quite make this list. It got close, though. It was on an early draft of the list until I remembered what else I read, and also had to fit in some more, as you'll see. But anyway, Cradle series is huge. It's awesome, and I love it. And I can't wait to read Waybound. It's coming. All right, speaking of last minute changes to this list, this is one of them. Number 4, we're talking The Grace of Kings by Ken Liu. Wow, I am astounded. It was such a good book. It was so complex, such great characters. This this relationship between these two friends that become enemies, they become friends, they become enemies. And they're approaches to things that you can respect. You can respect both of them, and I think that might be why I love it the most, is because I love a good gray area. I think John Marco is one of those authors that does it really well, where you can understand both sides and where they're coming from, and that they just have completely opposite approaches. Which one, I mean, can you really tell? It's so hard to tell in the grand scheme of things, like, you know, in hindsight's 2020. What would be best for a country and for leading a country. And holy cow, I was astounded. I can't wait for the sequel. I hear it's just one of the best books ever written, ever. So that's almost why I wanted to pick this one up. But this was the result of, in my last live stream, on the channel, I said, hey, I'll read whatever you guys vote on as my next book. I'll clear the TBR. Well, I'll just insert it, move the TBR one book back. And this was it. I'm so glad it was. Thank you so much. You guys are looking out for me, as usual. You're seriously the best. Cannot thank you enough. Seriously, that was such a good book. I cannot wait to read more. It's just that I have one more series that I'm now in the middle of and want to read and want to drop everything to read. How am I supposed to do this? Should I quit my job? Okay, I'll stop. The number three is another independently published book. As you see, there's lots of them in this list. This is the last one though, highest ranked. This was, as I said, I already alluded to, John Marco. I love John Marco. The Bloody Chorus made it. I love this cover too, man. That still just hits. And that's a dragon whale, so I can't stop talking about dragon whales. But anyway, like I said, I love a good gray area. Hey, who's right? We're not going to know. You have to, you know, figure it out, but get to know the characters and their motivations, and, you know, maybe they're flawed too, and they have some things that they do wrong, but also they have a lot that they do right, and they're trying, and pretty dang human. Cannot tell you enough how excited I am that John Marco's back at it. So anyway, get you some Bloody Chorus. It's worth it. It's so good. And I mean, there's an epic, huge monster battle at sea, and it's worth it. I'll tell you, it's so awesome. Number two, this was actually made it really hard to pick between this one and the number one. I mean, they're almost interchangeable, to be honest. So one had to be at the top, one had to be second. So anyway, I'm going with Jade Legacy by Fonda Lee. This one just crushed me. This is the third book in the Greenbone saga. I love this trilogy. I need to revamp some top 10 of all time lists, because that one's it's gonna fight for a top spot, I think. Anyway, what a good series. It's so hard to beat. It's like, man, I've rarely ever been closer to a group of characters and loved them as much as I have loved these characters, and like been emotionally harmed by how they're treated and how they treat each other. And holy cow, what a cool system, what a great magic system using this jade, and I just can't say enough good things. This is it's like urban fantasy, but I love the just getting to know different cultures and everything, and different honor systems, and it's so well done, so well written. I cannot wait to read more by Fonda Lee, and there's some novellas, luckily, so I'll be jumping into those soon, I'm sure. And finally, the number one book. I think I'm mostly surprised that this book survived the hype, because the hype is real, the hype is huge. But this is a lot of people's all-time favorite book, all-time favorite series, and I'm a huge fan of the author. You'll know it. It's Brandon Sanderson. It's Mistborn, and I absolutely love this. And again, the hype, I mean, it did justice to the hype, frankly, and I absolutely loved this book. I loved Vin, I loved Kelsier. Just the twist in it really got me. I was not ready for that, and I can't tell you much more than that. But my gosh, it just, in the magic system, I've read Stormlight, I've read a number of Sanderson books. I know his magic systems, but this was such a good one. It's so cool. It's so intricate. There's so many powers that you can have through this system. And anyway, This has been a well-loved book. It's pretty trashed. It's been through both myself and my son. Anyway, I cannot get enough. I cannot wait for more. I do hear a lot from a lot of people that's the best in the trilogy, but I am excited for more to see where this goes. Obviously, there's more to it, but holy cow, you know, again, all the people that I've heard that love Mistborn so much, and as much as they do, it hit just right for me. And Sanderson's one of those authors. I know there plenty of people love him, and then the people that don't really just dislike his work for some reason. And I can respect either way, but I'm a huge fan. You know, there's some where he doesn't always hit. He doesn't always perfectly hit. The Arithmetist is one that just, I think maybe I just wasn't the right age group or anything like that. I get that, and so. But Mistborn was good. It's great high fantasy, and I can see why Sanderson was picked to write The Wheel of Time or finish up The Wheel of Time, because he did a great job. And again, he showed that somehow he's able to finish Wheel of Time after this. Holy cow. Anyway, it's been a great year so far. How is your reading going? How's your top 10 for this year so far going? Let me know in the comments below. You know, despite all the pain it brings me to not be able to read everything all at once, I still am adding more to my mountainous TBR pile. So let me know, what are the books that are your top 10, top 5, top 1? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you there. Anyway, thank you so much for stopping by. Thanks for liking and subscribing if this is something that you enjoyed. And we'll see you later. Bye.